Okay. Good evening. My name is Margaret Hafferly. I'm the chair of Council One, which represents Morris, Sussex, and Warren counties. Um, we were established by the Family Support Act of 1993 to be the voice of families within the system. So we're advocates, like most of you as parents are. So our role, we are volunteers. Councils can have a maximum of 11 members. We're always looking for members, so we hope you reach out to us. But our role is threefold. We provide information to families at events like these, our monthly meeting. We're here at Wegmans in Hanover just about every third Tuesday of the month. And but we're also hybrid most of the time unless we're doing a webinar. So providing information to families, gathering information from families, and then we provide input to the state in a number of ways with the Division of Children and Families, with DDD, statewide to the commissioner, so that we make sure that the people who are making decisions hear our voice and hear your voice as well. So there's been a lot going on with everyone very concerned about what's happening with Medicaid and stuff like that. And so we thought that this would be a good opportunity to provide information about how to effectively advocate for our families and for our children. So I have to say, I've been involved with the council for quite a while. And, everybody's advocacy journey is different, but, you have highs and lows. I remember I was at a low. We were meeting at Morristown Medical Center, and I was thinking, I just can't do this anymore. And then someone walked into my meeting and said, I just attended Partners in Policymaking, and I'm revved up, and I want to join the council and be a part of it. And that person was Mercedes Wojtowski, the executive director of NJCDD. So I'm still here. She's still here. And our other council members are here. Couple of them on screen. Gabrielle Bohan, who's the vice chair of Council One.
Michael Bertram.
That's from you.
Oh,
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Laura Sikorsky.
And
Alicia Ketto.
so we are here holding down the fort at Wegmans. And we welcome you, and we'd like to talk a little bit about advocacy through PIP, Partners in Policymaking. So I'm going to introduce Colleen, and I don't remember her last name.
McLaughlin, that's okay.
I have to have my glasses on to see that.
It's all good.
So welcome, Colleen. We'd love to. And then we also have some Partners in Policymaking graduates who are going to talk about their experience. It's really important that people know that Medicaid is very important to our families and to our kids. And that's going to be the story that we hope to be able to share. So Colleen, take it away.
Great. So I'll actually after I'm done, I'll pop some resources in the chat, including the link that actually Mercedes might want to pop the link about Medicaid advocacy from the council that went out yesterday. Really important. Medicaid is one of the topics that we cover in Partners in Policymaking. We cover a variety of different topics, which I'll show you in just a second, so you guys can get a picture of what all we do in Partners. So bear with me, and I'll go through a little bit about what we do in Partners to really help people to advocate. Let me introduce myself first. I'm sorry. For those of you that don't know me, it is great to see so many familiar faces. I'm Colleen McLaughlin. I'm the director of the University Center for Excellence in Developmental Disabilities, known as the Boggs Center on Disability and Human Development, within Rutgers Robert Wood Johnson Medical School. I'm also the director of the Partners in Policymaking program, and Jamie Zahed, who some of you might know, is my partner in crime who does a lot of the organization and the participant support. Her two kids are really sick today, so that they caught whatever's going around. So she is not able to join us today. In introducing myself, I think it's important for you guys to know that the whole reason I'm in the field of developmental disabilities is because of Partners in Policymaking. I had the awesome opportunity to be a graduate student at Temple University, and I was the graduate student who actually worked on the partners program for 2 years. So I was able to go through the class, participate with the participants. My roommate was a young woman close to my age with disability. And so from there, I really started to love the people, love the field, and they hired me as an employee there, and now I'm here. So talking to you guys. So Partners definitely makes a lasting impression on many people. In New Jersey, Partners is a collaboration between the three Developmental Disabilities Act partners. So the Council on Developmental Disabilities, us as the you said, as well as Disability Rights New Jersey. And I think that's really important because it's unique. Almost every state in the country has a partners program. Most are connected through their Developmental Disabilities Council in some way. And then some are also connected to their university center in some way as well. So that's really good. I think, and Mercedes might be able to correct me if I'm wrong, I think we're more unique in terms of having the three sisters be connected in some way. Partners is a national program. It's not just something that we do in New Jersey. It was started in 1987 by the Minnesota Governor's Council on Developmental Disabilities, so their DD Council. It's a competency-based leadership development program designed for adults with developmental disabilities and parents of young children. When it was created, it was developed in order to expand the advocacy network. Think of it, it was 1987. There was a great deal of advocacy that had taken place in the 70s to bring forth special education opportunities, deinstitutionalization. There was not, I don't want to say a lull, but sort of a lull, and there needed to be a way to revitalize advocacy across people with disabilities and families and promote best practice. And educate people on what they needed to be able to do to influence policy. And now, there are more than 30,000 graduates nationwide. I wanted to put it in, and I totally skipped my mind, but there is an NPR session episode, I guess, about partners in policymaking on the national front. And I think if you just Google NPR partners in policymaking, it came out probably 2 or 3 years ago, but time moves quickly, so it could have been 5. That was really good. So check that out. So the goal of New Jersey Partners in Policymaking is very similar. It's to prepare the next generation of disability advocates to work toward meaningful change in the state. We coordinate partners so that it helps people that are participating to really develop knowledge and skills that they need to, first and foremost, understand and inform people of best practice. I always like to say that, Partners in Policymaking is a small group every year. We have about 25 class members typically. And what I always like to say is we reach the 25, but it's the role of the 25 to reach the people in their community. So I like to think of the class as the palm of the hand, but they need to reach out to the fingers so that each person is reaching more people, sharing best practice, sharing knowledge, and advocating. Partners graduates advocate for a variety of opportunities really aimed at promoting self-determination, independence, and inclusion of all people with developmental disabilities, and doing so walking alongside peers, policymakers, and state organizations and state systems. So for those of you that aren't familiar with Partners in Policymaking, we aim to reach this goal by cultivating a shared vision along with individual visions to help people grow and advocate both for what they need on a personal level, but also what's needed at a local, state, and federal level as well. And so we do this by providing opportunities for the classes to learn about best practice from national experts. All of our presenters are nationally known experts in the topic that they present on. It's not just presentation based though. We have, obviously it's a lot of presentation because we want to get the information out, but we also do a variety of skill building activities. We have discussion opportunities, their homework assignments, and action planning. And I think one of the things that, and you'll get to hear from some past partners participants in a second, is that the collaboration and the relationships built with classmates is probably one of the most valuable things. I think every time we have a new class, we always have somebody in the room that says, I finally found my people. And that's really the case. So those of you that might be interested or know people that might be interested, we have a very specific program format. It's a eight. Oh, can I count right? I think I did. So I think I have a typo. It's an 8-month program. We have 5 in-person sessions, and I think it should be 3. I have to look at this. I just messed something up there. 3 sessions. We have Wednesday night sessions as well to help build in since COVID and since we've had some online sessions, and I'll fill you in on that in a second. We have a monthly homework assignment, and people always are terrified by homework assignments, but they're easy. They're intended to help people reflect, build upon their knowledge, and practice. One of the most, I think, thought-provoking as well as informative activities that we do each year is a legislative, and I'm putting mock testimony in. We've been doing this virtually with state legislators for the past few years. And it's been amazing. And I think really because it's virtual, it has allowed more legislators to actually come and participate. And while we call it a mock testimony, the reality is that the information that each partner's participant shares is it's valuable to the legislators. So while it's intended to be practiced, the legislators take the information with them and have a better understanding of the needs of the disability community. So that's been really fantastic. And one of the things that I always love to see from that opportunity is how people are always so, and this is good for you guys now in the advocacy, everyone's always so scared. Everyone's always so afraid to contact their legislator. And I think one of the things that comes out of this is people start to realize it's not that hard. Legislators are people just like us. Their staffers are really easy to talk to. And we don't have to say a ton to get our point across. So you guys could do that right now when you're advocating. Just pick up the phone, call, share your story about why Medicaid is so important to you and your family, and let them know why it's so important that no cuts be made. And it can be that simple. And then the other piece of the Partners program is we have an advocacy action plan that the participants work on throughout the year, really developing and honing in their priority advocacy topics. So we have that as part of the project as well. So we talk about a lot of different topics throughout Partners. We sort of go through we go through a lifespan approach, starting with the history of the advocacy movements, introducing people to the DD Act and who we are as DD partners. Each class does visioning across the life course that we use throughout the various sessions to help people really hone in their visions. We talk about inclusive education, transition, competitive integrated employment, supported decision-making, the direct support professional workforce. Towards the second half of the sessions, we start really honing in on, okay, you got all this information about major topics. We're going to talk about how you have effective communication and build partnerships and coalitions with people. We have opportunities to meet state systems leaders, state advocacy organizations. We talk a lot about federal policy hot topics so that people have the opportunity to learn what they need to advocate for at the federal level. And then infused through all of the topics, we have topics on Medicaid, health and wellness, housing, assistive technology. Sometimes we'll do something on ABLE accounts, and quality community supports is always interspersed through all of the content. So we cover a lot in a very short little amount of time. And I think one of the things is every year, probably about this time, people are like, oh my gosh, I can't believe it's already February. We only have a couple more months left. So this is where my wacky typos are. I apologize for that. So just so you guys know, and if you know people that are interested, we should be getting the flyer out shortly. We're just finalizing some dates. Dates make me scared when something goes to print. I want to make sure they're always solid. So we do partners in a in-person and virtual structure. It's not hybrid, because if it's in person, people need to be in person, and if it's virtual, it's virtual. Um, so the sessions start in September. We work sort of like the school year. They start in September and run through May. They take place on Fridays and Saturdays. And as you can see here, the in-person sessions, we're doing an additional in-person session this year. So instead of doing 4 and 4, we're doing 5 and 3, partly because people really, really value being together. That collaboration, that tabletop discussion, that hanging out after the Friday night sessions really is meaningful to people, and helps to cultivate those relationships and action. So we're looking at the schedule that you see on the screen, which is September and October in person, November virtual, December in person, the wintry months to save some of my anxiety selfishly, and also hotel schedule. January and February will be virtual. We've also learned that February at the hotel is a hot time for dance competitions, which is always loud but fun. And then March and May, we will be back in person. Notice that this year we're skipping April. That was because of hotel scheduling, but we're going to add in some type of virtual opportunity in April to cover for that and give people some more time together. So in addition to the weekend sessions, we host one monthly Wednesday session each month, October through April, which allows time for additional presentation, discussion about the session before, and towards the end of the year, when it comes down to the legislative mock testimony as well as graduation, we give time for people to practice and brainstorm together. So it's just another opportunity for people to be able to come together and learn. So like I said, we will be recruiting for our 25-26 class shortly. We expect the flyers to be out in April. We usually have a deadline for applications for the end of June. We'd love to get as many in as possible. We were recruiting adults with developmental disabilities that are 21 and older, and parents of children with developmental disabilities. We extend the opportunity through transition age, while the national program tends to just focus on young children, but we accept parents of children through transition age. We aim to have a class that's representative of the whole diversity of the state, including region, race and ethnicity, as well as disability. We require that all of the participants commit to participating in all 8 of the sessions and the Wednesday evening sessions too, and that people are able to coordinate their own support, whether that be their direct support professionals, childcare at home, respite at home if they need that, as well as any technology and transportation needs. And then the council graciously provides reimbursement with particular conditions. So that's what we are expecting. Stay tuned for April. We will send it out through the Boggs Center email list. I know the council sends it out through their various email lists too. We always get it to Kyoko to send out to the Regional Family Support Planning Council lists, and it'll be posted on our website, which the DD Council also has cross-posted on the website too. So hopefully what we hope from you guys is that if you meet the criteria and you're interested, that you would apply, but also please distribute it to people that you think would want to apply, or other groups like CPAGs, family support organizations, or other organizations that you're connected with. We try to get it out to as many people as we can, but sometimes having that personal touch can be really, really helpful. So I spoke super fast intentionally because I wanted you guys to be able to hear from the stars of the show tonight. We have three awesome participants who have been partners graduates, Michael Bertram, Subha Bolisetty, and Eileen Hurley. So I don't know who wants to go first, but I'll turn it to you guys, and then I guess we can ask questions after.
Okay. I can go first if that's okay. So I thank you, Colleen. So I'm Eileen Hurley, and my son Colin is now 33, and was a graduate of Partners in Policymaking, 2013, 2014 class, I guess we graduated. And it was a lot different then than you're describing, Colleen. So very interesting and wonderful changes that you all have made. So when I attended, it was I believe 2 weekends a month for one long day. And then when we graduated, we graduated in New Brunswick at the Hyatt. Ironically, the same the same day as Rutgers was holding their graduation, that same exact day, I remember. But it was very exciting. But I have to say that this opened so many doors for me. I wanted to learn primarily because my son was graduating and he had a high level of need and there just wasn't anything out there and nothing out there for him. And I just didn't know who to talk to, who to go to, how to get it done. And so this program was just awesome with all of that. Just really, as you're saying, learning the history of disabilities advocacy and where we've been and how we get there now, and just having wonderful people to partner with and learn from was just so positive and just really heartwarming in terms of making friends and advocacy partners for a lifetime. I've been with the council. That was my project as you're talking about your advocacy plan. So I remember attending a statewide meeting for the Family Support Planning Councils, and this is when Mercedes and Rebecca Novinsky were voted in as chair and vice chair. And I approached Mercedes and said, I need to do something. So, and I've been with the council ever since doing things, also making all kinds of commitments with COPs at the statewide level and just working on envisioning the best life for our kids and our family members and our caregivers. And so it's been a very, very positive experience for me. And it's ongoing and it's continuing. We also, in our councils, we have a legislative advocacy committee that we just started recently. And a lot of our statewide committees are working on this Medicaid thing. So I would encourage people definitely to get out and tell your story and just realize that even if you think it's not important, it is. And people, our representatives that we elect are here to support us, and we have to remember that. So I think it's great. Also, I just wanted to clarify something, Colleen. Are you saying that it's just for disabilities advocates that are 21 and older, but if you're a parent, you would prefer them to be have younger children to join this program at this point, or?
So the national model is for parents of children with disabilities. We've expanded that a little bit. So it's parents of children through transition age.
Okay, through transition, yeah.
Yeah. But the adults with disabilities, it's adults with disabilities 21 and older, developmental disabilities.
And what about siblings? I mean,
we've had siblings. Yeah. And I'm sorry, family members.
Okay, yeah. Because
we've had some great siblings.
I think so too. Yeah, definitely. So I could go on, but and if anybody has any questions, I'm probably better at answering questions. Otherwise, I tend to ramble. But I did have I think that just to promote the self-determination and independence for our loved ones, as well as for our family members, because some people just feel like they're alone in this journey and they're not. And I think that Partners in Policymaking is an avenue to get there, and it's big. It's definitely big. So we will be promoting it in our councils to try to get some new individuals interested for sure. Okay,
So
that's what I have.
thank you, Eileen.
Thank you. Thank you, Gabrielle.
So if Eileen didn't mention, she's part of Council 4, which is Essex
yes.
County. And now if Subha can let us know her experience, she's Council 5, which is Mercer. Which counties are in 5 again?
Mercer, Middlesex, and Hunterdon.
Thank you.
Hello, everybody. Good evening, almost good night. It's so nice seeing so many familiar faces today. And again, my name is Subha Bolisetty, and I graduated from Partners in Policymaking 2022. It's 2021-2022 batch. My son Sakit just turned 25 three weeks ago. So I actually came to know about Partners in Policymaking through Regional Family Support Planning Council 1. At that time, we were living in Morris County until 2022 summer. And my son was graduating 2021, but we were trying to get the 1-year extension. At that time, I started attending the Regional Family Support Planning Council meetings and getting the information from there, and also how to push for the policy to go through, and basically working on the advocacy. At that time, I had no idea about advocacy, and thanks to Mercedes for introducing me to PIP program, and also she and the Council 1 both encouraged me to start advocating. So that's how I was introduced to advocacy this way, talking to policymakers and all that. So that was my introduction to the advocacy as well as Partners in Policymaking. And my son was able to get the 1-year extension, and I started attending the Partners in Policymaking classes. It was a very positive experience for me, and it helped me become a better advocate and grow in tremendous way in all different areas that are related to disabilities. And at the same time, it gave me a better understanding of how policies are made and implemented. And most importantly, how our stories and experiences impact the policymakers' decision making. So that is one of the biggest things I learned because of the training. And at the same time, how we can educate others, friends, family members, community, about sharing the stories and the experiences. Because we all want a positive change, and there is so much fear about talking to policymakers or anybody, even authoritative figures. So to make it easy on those who has that fear, I started going and talking to the individuals who didn't want to make that phone call or send an email. So that's how I started. I mean, me giving my testimony and also encouraging my friends and the community I was in to share their stories. And currently, I'm working as a program manager at NAMI, New Jersey, National Alliance on Mental Illness. And I'm also their program coordinator for one of their multicultural programs for South Asians, which is called SAMHAJ, South Asian Mental Health Awareness Program. So as part of my work, also, I talk to individuals and families affected by mental illness daily basis. And I share resources almost every day I talk about Boggs Center and advocacy and NJCDD, because even though the main focus at work is mental health, but we have families and individuals who has loved ones with the developmental disabilities or intellectual disabilities or on the spectrum. So we do have conversations about the programs and resources that are out there. And we do talk about quite a bit on advocacy. And as everybody mentioned before me, the Medicaid, that's a big challenge for all of us, right? So during the Partners in Policymaking, we came across so many classes, presentations, amazing presenters who talked about different topics that impacts our loved one's life. One of the presenters talked about Medicaid. So that's one thing we all know, all our loved ones need the Medicaid support. And even at NAMI, we are requesting individuals to share their Medicaid stories, because a lot of individuals with the mental illness, they're also on Medicaid. So we are all in the same boat with different directions. But the Partners in Policymaking experience is helping me push for that advocacy at my workplace also. Like 2 weeks ago, somebody reached out to me asking for guardianship. So immediately I'm like, okay, go back to the class. I think it was one of the December classes. We learned about supportive decision-making, power of attorney, and guardianship. So I went into my emails and looked at some of the information, and I was able to share with them. And even in our support groups, I try to dedicate about 5 to 10 minutes for advocacy. And last 2 weeks, we were talking about Medicaid, how to share your story. And I was actually sharing the Boggs Center information also about the sharing story. The link to share story, it's written so well. That's what I was sharing with them. And the next one, just the topic came with one of the family members, is about IEPs and 504s. So the connection, if DOE is going to be out, then how that's going to impact on our loved ones' IEPs and 504. So this family has 2 kids. Both of them have IEPs. One of them have one of them needs quite a bit of supports and services. So the mom called and she's in tears. So I actually referred them to the Council 5, because they live in Middlesex County. And also I told them to join today. I'm not sure if they joined or not. And also referred to them about Partners in Policymaking and Boggs Center to get more information. So always I'm trying to share resources, so something will help them out. So that's another thing we learned at Partners in Policymaking, sharing. Whatever we have, sharing will be helpful. So that's something I'm doing. Partners helped me in making my story more impactful and my voice stronger. That's how I feel. And I always ready to share my story, my personal journey and experience as a caregiver. I used to write 10 to 15 pages. And I remember there are days I requested Colleen to help me out. So we cut down to like a couple of pages instead of that long. So I'm grateful for that. And that small story from 10 pages to 3 pages, that was amazing. It summarized well, and it presented everything that I was trying to express. So the program taught me how to even put together the story. And even when I'm reaching out to individuals and families, I'm trying to request them to share their experiences as a caregiver or an individual, so that we can have mutual interaction. It's not just me sharing. And I'm also persistent in getting outreaches from different community organizations so that I can educate more people and then encourage them to include everybody. So, because inclusion is so important for all of us. And I like to share resources from the beginning, so that's something I'm doing. I learned quite a bit from partners and the presenters that are there at the Partners in Policy Making are very knowledgeable and great advocates. So then this new knowledge that I gained gave me more confidence and better understanding of the system. That's how I feel. And I'm still going and talking to individuals and families and sharing the resources even with the schools. Even though my son is out of school, I still like to reach out to the members there. And I even go to their events once in a while, so that they could see me and we can still have that connection. And
That's wonderful, Subha. You get to go back and forth and you still are part of the school system. It's great what you've done with what you've learned at Partners in Policy Making. We're going to give Michael Bertram, who's from Council One, from us,
From our council.
from our council, and let
It
him
is.
tell you about his experiences. I'm gonna.
Okay. Thank you. I got into this because I have a daughter with developmental disabilities, and I was able to get everything she needed. And then I was talking to my friends and they were not having the same success. So I took the classes that SPAN offered and became a resource parent. And I helped everybody in our local school district that I could. And then it dawned on me, I needed to reach further. And about that time, Mercedes showed up at one of the classes I was attending. And she said, listen, if you're not at the table, you're on the menu. Go take the partners training. So I did. One of the things that Colleen didn't stress too much is when they bring in the experts from around the country and they talk about best practices, it was eye-opening. There were things being done in the rest of the country that New Jersey has not even touched. So I not only had to advocate for inclusion into the programs that we did have, but start to talk to people about expanding what we have and bringing ourselves up to like a national level. I can tell you even now, I'm on a first name basis with all my legislators. I talk to them more often than they would like. And I wanted to say that our first reaction, or for a lot of people, the first reaction is I'm going to send them an email. And 15 emails don't equal one phone call. And hearing the story that you can put together and talk about why this particular issue is important to you and your community and what you need so that your child or whoever you're advocating for has the opportunities that they deserve makes all the difference. So work up the courage, get the phone number, call in, and tell them that you want what you want to do. The partners program they went, as somebody mentioned, they went through guardianship. They went through lifetime practice or planning, what you want, as well as what you don't want for your loved one. And they covered all of the kinds of materials that you don't really think about, but are so necessary to someone having a fulfilling life. And all along the way, they give you assignments, they talk to you about what you do, they encourage you to reach out a little bit further. And even while you're in the training, they encourage you to reach out to the people that can make a difference now and advocate and get some practice doing it. And they can turn well-meaning people into effective advocates. So I definitely recommend the partners training, as well as getting on board with something that's important to you now and making your legislator, either at the state or the federal level, your new best friend.
Okay, thank you, Michael. I'm gonna turn it over to Mercedes, who's also, as Margaret said, a graduate of Partners in Policymaking and the executive director of the Council of Developmental Disabilities.
Well, hi, everybody. I appreciate the little shout outs. I kind of forget sometimes. I forgot that quote, Michael, about if you're not, if you're at the table, if you're not at the table, you could be the meal. But it was powerful enough to hit you, maybe powerful enough that you repeated it and it hit somebody else tonight. Partners has been operating in New Jersey. I think it's been 28 years. And right, is that Colleen? Is that the number? Because I know I was the class of 2013.
It's 1996. Math is not my
Math. Okay, so somebody do the math on that. I think it's
1996.
26 years.
29 years.
29 years. Oh, okay. We may have skipped a couple. There was, because it's been administered by different people over the different organizations and combinations of facilitators over the years. But I think you've heard so much, but I'd like to add, on the human side of this, I know that Partners has created also lifelong friends, people that I call upon still from my class, people with disabilities that were part of the class that I was in that I consider my friends now. There's just a sense of belonging and camaraderie that we don't get in other circles. I think that's another important aspect. We don't have time to go out and meet new people. And so this is kind of that forced way to become part of a bigger purpose, but developing relationships and being in those overnight sessions certainly fosters that. I think the classes that missed that during COVID when they were all virtual probably just didn't have the opportunity until they met up at like graduations that came after because they were invited back. And I think that was a missed opportunity. So I would encourage you to consider the benefits of partners, if not at any time, this time. We've got so many obstacles that are potentially in front of us with changes in funding for Medicaid. Every day since earlier this year, there's been another piece of information that makes us question, what's life going to be like for our children? And many times we say, how do I sustain what I have today and sustain it thinking that the services and supports will be the same, that the funding structure will be the same. But I think we have a new challenge before us. And so if you've already been through Partners in Policymaking, now's the time to kind of dig into all those skills and, as Colleen said, be the hand, get out there and make sure that other people, and they don't have to have a lot of information, but just enough information to know your story, to be able to share it with our elected officials so that we're not in a position where we have to rethink what the days and the futures of our loved ones are. If you have a child with disabilities, this is also the time to kind of think about how this opportunity would help them grow in their advocacy skills, being around others with disabilities and then family members. It opens up your eyes in so many ways. And I remember in particular in our class, there were moms and dads who didn't think their loved one with a disability would ever be able to participate in something like this until they sat in a room where people with disabilities, with some similar characteristics to their children, open their eyes to, wow, maybe my son or my daughter could do this. So it raises the bar, if you will. And then some other folks who said, my son and daughter just can't do this. They don't have that particular ability to sit through a class without without supports that probably would not be available. That's okay. But then to know that there's other people with disabilities who represent them in their voice, just like not every family member, not every sibling is going to sit around the table, but to know that there's other people that represent their voices is also a good feeling. So I did put in the chat the Protect Medicaid advocacy and action alerts that are happening here in New Jersey. The Boggs Center has done some great work on developing and organizing your story to tell legislators. I have a meeting tomorrow with Congressman Van Drew's office, and then we have people participating in Congressman Smith next week. Republican members of Congress are very important to have outreach with here in New Jersey, so that if you have a contact, use it. Take your time to share your story so that our elected officials know how important services and supports are for our family members, our loved ones. So that's where I'll kind of end that note. But we're here. We're excited to have this group that joined us tonight. And we did record this. So when you get this recording, if somebody missed it or you want to go back and listen, we'll be able to share that out and help other people understand the value of partners. So thank you, Colleen, for being with us tonight. I'll turn it back to Gabrielle and Margaret.
So we wanted to see if anybody had any questions for Colleen or any of us on the councils. We'd be happy to try to answer them.
People can just unmute or raise your hand. But if we're a small group, you want to unmute?
Colleen, I have a question. One of my colleagues attended a Boggs Center event, and she came back with a one-sheet piece of paper that talked about my story. Are you able to share that with us tonight, or is that going to be available?
Not one. I'm hoping this is the right thing. It's on the link. Give me one second.
Maybe she just showed me one page of it.
Yeah, no, I'll put the direct link in the chat right now.
And then maybe perhaps if there's any until they can attend Partners in Policymaking, is there any instructions on how to fill that out?
So what I would do is actually, I'll share right now. This is what I would do is, I know you guys probably can't tell this, but I am anxious to call and order pizza. So the thought of talking on the phone, I just don't like it. Talking to a stranger on the phone terrifies me. But if you're the same type of person, I want you to know how easy it is to pick up the phone and call your legislators. And this document here, I'm scrolling because they give you information. If you look at your story and it's just this section here, what are the services you receive through Medicaid funding? How do these services make a difference? What do they help you or your family member do? What would happen in your life if you didn't have those? Clear, concise. It can be 3 sentences. What do you want your legislators to do? Simply do not make any cuts to Medicaid. Do not change the Medicaid system. That's all you need to do is introduce yourself, share your town, your city, because they want to know you're a constituent. 3 sentences. Make sure you say, I'm calling to request no cuts to Medicaid. And you can leave a message. You could legit call tonight, leave a message, and the staffers working the phones tomorrow will count it. They're counting things. And then I would say, call later this week, call during the day, so there's somebody to pick up. There is such a massive influx of calls right now, that you might have to call a couple times. But if you want to call tonight, leave a message. Call and leave a message. Then follow up with an email. Follow up with another call later this week. Yeah, but hopefully this is helpful. I popped it in the chat too.
Yes, that was it.
Oh, good.
I think there's a hand up, and now I lost it because we went back
I think it was Gina.
I know, yeah, it was me. I put it up and down because it annoys me looking at it. Now, of course, I should leave it up because then I forgot what I was going to ask. I know the one thing that's huge is you have to make sure you call the right legislature, because a couple of years ago I worked in long-term care and they're trying to sell, and everybody wanted to call Vitale's office except for they don't want to talk to you if you don't live in their area because he's not going to help you. And I'm like, don't we have someone who lives in Middlesex County? I can tell you exactly what to say. They're like, actually, we do. We have somebody who's driving all the way down to Ocean County. You call. This is what you're going to say. And this is where the problem is. This is what he's said is supposed to do. They're not following the law. As soon as she called, magically, the whole situation we were having with the law not being followed with this transfer of a facility was no problem. There were phone calls made, and of course, I probably got blamed for it because they always blame me for everything. Because my brother says I started not shutting up when I was 8, which I don't really believe I was that young, but you have to call the right legislator. It's not that hard. There's a search online. I know Andy Kim hasn't changed his staff. His office is easy to talk to. People are trying to chase down Chris Smith. I hear he's not one that really wants to be bothered in person. They're on recess this week. So they're supposed to be local. So calling locally might get you instead of calling the offices in Washington. But I am like you. I do not, believe it or not, I do not like talking on the phone. I will do anything I can to not talk on the phone. And I had no choice in the matter but pick up the phone and call for an issue. And it was so easy because they're so used to it. They know people don't want to call. And when it's something that big, and all you have to do is tell them who you are. First thing they do is they confirm that you are calling the right office. Once they know you are their constituent, they will listen to you. And I've left messages and they call back. And I'm like, who is this calling me from Washington, D.C.? I thought it was a spam call. No, they will call you back if you leave a message and you are calling the right legislator. As long as you can possibly vote for them, they will call you back. It might be an aide. You're not going to get a call back from, Cory Booker. You're going to get a call back from one of his aides. But I've sent messages through to on something like this. You want to call on something when you need help with something you need a congressional rep to assist you with. Sending an email is easier, but it is. I believe it or not, I talk a lot. I do not like talking on the phone, but it is so much easier than you would believe.
Yep.
And using something like that where it gives you a guide of what to say. Yep. And like, I'm trying to get my son to do it. My son's just turned 22. He's hiding from me right now. But I've gotten him at once at a blue moon. It's usually a growl, but they get it. And then he'll get talking, and it's not that and I hate it, but it works and it's effective. Except for my local office for the state senators, that's a different problem.
And Gina, it doesn't take very long. I mean, I know I do it on my lunch hour, probably at least once a week. I'll call my congresswoman, and it takes, 90 seconds.
Well,
And
there's
that's
that.
getting through all the prompts of typing in your zip code or phone number, or whatever it is they ask. I'm just gonna, if it's okay, I'm gonna bring up the website that was in the chat just to walk you guys through a few things, because I heard people say, they don't really feel comfortable on the phone.
And just not to interrupt, but there's also that app, that 5calls.org. It's a website and an app. and that will help you make those phone calls.
There you go.
So
Another
if you
hint.
have someone who has an issue with dialing, and so somebody who has a disability where they use the apps and they have limited issues with, getting the right phone number called, there you go. They solved that problem too for you. It was actually designed for that specific reason.
So some people want to be together. There's a rally on March 6th in the State House. Now you say, why the state of New Jersey? This is a federal issue. Well, Senators Booker and Senator Kim have been invited to this rally. And if they don't come, the goal is to have somebody from their offices there. So there's on March 6th, as long as it doesn't snow, I guess, because that's all we get is snow these days. There's a rally in the State House, and so you can learn more about the rally there. There's all the information on all Senate and representative members, so you can get their information directly from this page. You can find your representative by clicking here, entering your address, and it'll populate your senator. Sorry, your congressperson. You can also find them right here on this page. And then to Colleen's point of organizing your story, we have the resource that Colleen at the Boggs Center that they've developed. And then we have just also a very quick, oops, it says page not found, but I think because I have too many things open right now. There's just a very quick Protect Medicaid story sheet where the same questions that Colleen mentioned. This is a fillable form in case you want to have it sitting there right in front of you on one page. There's also phone call scripts. So if you want to read something, you just put in your information and read it. You can download it. If you want to write a letter, there's 2 sample letters for family members, 2 sample letters for people with disabilities. And again, that how to tell your story. And then any of the resources that we have located, some of our own, some other organizations are available here. And then some people just like to write a letter to the editor or call the newspaper. There's a link to all the news outlets in New Jersey here. So it's a website that we've tried to put short, concise information in. And I hope that you can not just use it yourself, but share it with your family members. As I mentioned, Representatives Smith, Kane, and Van Drew are 3 of our 3 congressional Republican Congress members of Congress that are really important to advocate with right now. I'm going to stop this.
So if we don't have any more questions, I think we're going to wrap this up.
Thank you, everybody, for coming and joining us tonight. Thank you to our graduates sharing their stories. Thank you to Colleen telling us about Partners in Policymaking. Look for the applications. It's wonderful to meet a bunch of people that are similar to yourself, that want to learn how to advocate, to find your voice, and to be heard on the issues that affect your loved one. So there's a lot of information in the chat. I hope you received all of that. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. Have a good evening. Stay warm, and hopefully the next snowstorm will just skirt by us. Thank you.
Night.
Good night, everyone.